What did a crush do that made you instantly lose interest in him/her? She asked me to prom. I said yeah. 2 days before prom, I actually don't want to go with you, but I already bought both of our tickets. As the guy, I expect you to pay me back for them. I tried to explain that's not how transactions work. She kept telling me it was my responsibility. I asked if she was smoking crack. Never heard from her again. Feels like what she really asked to start was, hey, buy me and some other guy prom tickets. He said that he doesn't like ugly people and they all should die or be put in a corner. Not me, but my wife before we met. There was an event in Salt Lake City and she was from Northern Washington. She had a crush on this guy and decided to join carpooling with him and couple other people. They stopped to grab some fast food and went back on their way. Well, as soon as he finished eating/drinking, he tossed the whole bag out the window while driving. After that, she barely talked to him, and once they got to SLC, she left him and joined some other friends and went back home with them instead. A long road trip is one of those things that should be mandatory before marrying someone. He was disrespectful to our teacher because he was going to play baseball in college. Looked him up and he's definitely not doing it professionally and hasn't graduated yet. Went on a date with a guy to a Chinese restaurant, and as we were leaving he threw trash on the ground when there was a trash can a few feet away. Then we went to his house to watch a movie and he picked his cat up by the scruff of its neck and threw it. Not a set it down to get it off the counter kind of thing, but a legit throw across the room. I left right then and there and told him why. He called me a B and a tease, for whatever reason, never gave him the impression I was going to sleep with him that night, and was yelling at me as I was backing my car out of his drive. I got to the end of his road and blocked his number. He told me about his stash of children's movies. Yes, I did report it. Wait, what? Made fun of a chick who was into him for being chubby. He was fluffy himself, and I called him on it and walked away from that. A few things. She told me she hated how much guys share their feelings/emotions now. She said that if she dates someone, she wants them to be a typical man and not show any type of weakness. One of those things like, I don't want to hear if a man is sad or upset, I just don't care. She liked pretty heavy music. Like prog metal and hardcore music, which is cool. However, she didn't like anything else and would blatantly put down any other type of music and or not give it a chance. Almost made you feel stupid for liking anything else. Showed her a friend's artwork and her response was, yeah, not impressive, it would be impressive if they did, X, and, Y. Like, I understand that you don't have to like every person's art, but her demeanor about it was too condescending. They poked fun at my mom. Going to a primarily white school, him and a group of his guy friends always made fun of how she dressed and how short she was. I didn't super know him, but he was a part of the group that did, and that's all I needed to know. My mom is this sweet, short Asian woman who loves to smile, and yes, she sometimes wears goofy clothing, but no one makes fun of my mama. No one. He drove like an idiot while I was in the car. I literally thought he was going to kill us, and he was road raging the whole time. This was on the highway too. I asked him to stop driving like that and he didn't. Never going out with him again. Same thing happened to me. Driving home from our first date, I wasn't talking much because the date had gone poorly and I felt uncomfortable. He got mad at me for being too quiet and pretended to fall asleep at the wheel. Leaned back in the chair, folded his arms, and closed his eyes. We were on the highway going at least 85. I had to grab the wheel to keep us from swerving. He ran a few reds once we got to my town too. Very unpleasant experience. Hey, we still good for tomorrow? Sorry, my boyfriend wants to come over. Great way to find out she both forgot about our plans and had a BF. Asked her out, she said yes. Then, she dumped me 2 weeks in saying she didn't want to start anything new because she was moving in a month and didn't tell me. Then that time came for her to move, and where does she move? Into my house. She got with my roommate that looks creepily close to how I look. We would often get mistaken for brothers, twins even, and started a committed relationship with him. There were some thin walls in that house too. Crush on a girl my junior year of college. She liked to heavily make fun of people, and I mean hard. Like to the point I would say hi to someone I knew. After we walked off, she would have some remark. She went from attractive to not wanting to be around her really quickly. She started posting videos of her making out with drunk old men to her Snap. We're both in college. This guy that I would been talking to for a while on Tinder, who I thought was cool/cute, but he never seemed down to meet up. One time he randomly messaged me to say he'd gone over to someone's place and they'd had sex 3 times. I think he was trying to make me jealous, but it just made me feel a bit gross. I've never understood this. If you're trying to make someone jealous, which let's face it you shouldn't be doing anyway, go with something simple like someone was flirting hard with me and I kind of enjoyed it. Found out she was a cousin. We were in class together and it was all a pure coincidence. Neither of us had any idea until a family member casually mentioned to me, "Doesn't her name go to your school?" Well, crap. Was crushing on this girl for freaking months, and it turns out at her last apartment she stole $1,500 for coke and abruptly ended the lease, giving her 2 roommates barely any time at all to find new housing, one of which had to move back in with their abusive mother. Dodged a bullet. She slept with my dad. Best to not crush on your mom anyways. We were 5, had planned to marry when we got older with a pancake cake and everything. I was invited to his birthday party and he and his friend was climbing a tree with him being higher up. Suddenly he pees down on his friend. We never got married. You shouldn't play Dungeons and Dragons, you know. When you cast the spells in the game, you're actually casting them in your spirit, and that lets the devil get into you. I was, like, wait. And I'm supposed to be the one who can't tell reality from fiction? Found out he was a serial cheater and cheated on his exes with strippers and masseuses. Got someone pregnant. I worked up the courage to ask this girl to go on a date. She said yes. On the date, she proceeded to spend the whole time gossiping about anyone and everyone she could talk bad about. I still remember the moment it clicked that she was just super shallow and mean. Dude, she knocked over my Lego Death Star, she had to go. He tossed an empty drink bottle onto a random lawn as we walked down the street. Threw rocks at a cat because she thought it was funny. Not my crush, but someone who had a crush on me, or so I was told. She asked for my birthday, and I told her. She then calculated that I was younger than her by a week or so and straight up said to me I did have a crush on a guy, but then I found out he was younger than me, so now there's not crush. Damn dude. We were out drinking, he got drunk and started fighting a guy that he thought had been harassing me. The guy said he didn't harass me, I said he didn't harass me, my crush still tried to defend me. Never lost interest faster. Used a baby voice when speaking to me. Here's a lighthearted one. I developed my first crush when I was in 2nd or 3rd grade. This was right around the time when Pokemon were first becoming really popular, so naturally I was obsessed with them. I had the cards, the Game Boy games, etc. One day I overheard the girl I had a crush on talking to her friends at recess about how weird Pokemon were, and thus in a flash a young love was extinguished. Fast forward about 22 years and my wife also doesn't like Pokemon, because life is strange. Just because I enjoy the company of kids and babies, she told me that I was a creep and a pedo. Just because I love having kids around doesn't mean I want to have sex with them. Tortured a housefly and gave an oral book report trashing my favorite book, at the time, for being boring and having too many words. Then started bragging he could have any girl in the school he wanted. Shortest crush of my life. And he's a liar, since we know now there's at least one girl in the school he couldn't have. I had a crush on a guy in 5th grade. He found out about my crush and made a really hateful nickname for me and teased me about my body. Got all of his friends to tease me too. Realizing he was a garbage person set me straight pretty quickly. He was mean to his mom. Demanded money from her so we could go out, in front of me, and then called his grandma to get some more money so we could go out. So uncomfortable. Got in his car for a date and he rolled down his window and threw about 5 fast food cups out on the side of the road. Made a comment about there being enough illegals around to clean up after him. Nope. Not something that she did, but her breath smelled like crap, literally like crap. My brother from another mother had this problem. He couldn't understand why girls weren't interested in him. Never took hygiene seriously until his mid-20s. Because he never brushed his teeth, he developed an abscess tooth and let it fester. Customers started complaining and he was sent home from work until he got it fixed. The entire time I drove him to the dentist, I made him stick his head out the open window, it smelled terrible. Dentist gave him a good talking to about how his bad teeth could affect his heart. Soon after, he started showering and brushing his teeth every day. I had been seeing this girl for 2 months in college and things were going alright. I was helping her move when she decided it was the moment to have a serious talk. She sat me down and in a very serious tone told me she had been doing some digging. She confronted me with the fact that I had dated black women. I kind of thought it was a joke at first, I guess my brain couldn't comprehend that this was still a thing. No, she was dead serious and explained to me that while she had nothing against black people she didn't believe in mixing races. I was dumbfounded. I got up and walked out. Rejected me. Don't keep trying when you know it's pointless, guys. It was a teenage crush. He had multiple girlfriends, who didn't know about each other. Disloyalty is not cool. A mix between sudden and extreme explosive road rage and a misogynistic rant that came out of nowhere. He's an ex now but he's gotten worse. Showed his true colors obviously. He asked me to help him hook up with my best friend. Oh, that hurts. She asked me if I wanted to go to a concert with her, then she wanted me to pay for both tickets that I knew she got for free. Promptly laughed at her and told her she can buzz off with some other idiot. It's funny how fast the ugliness on the inside can overcome anything good on the outside. She did me a favor that day. Alcohol and cigarettes. We were 13 back then. She saw an Oreo in the cleaner's dustpan, picked it up, and ate it. We are 8 or so and he asked for a pen. So I gave him mine. He chewed on it, instant turn off. Told her I liked her, then she blocked me on all social media and bullied me harshly whenever she saw me. Ouch. Bully me to depression. Accused me of cheating because I had female friends. Some guy I went out with kept trying to convince me to sleep with him even after repeatedly telling him no. Some people just can't take no for an answer. Told me that while he thought I wasn't dumb, that I couldn't be smarter than him because I was female and a few months younger. Our test scores, entrance exams and work history later determined that that was a lie. She was going to a party and I said you seem pretty unenthusiastic about going. She replied with don't use big words. Long distance, only online crush/boyfriend. We were playing a modified TTRPG in the early 2010s and we made the horrible mistake of playing versions of ourselves, same names, ages, etc. Lots of crap happened, but the thing that really made me feel like crap was when I felt like a third wheel with him and his best bro. We were playing in a survival setting, so we would delegate chores to make sure we had supplies, fuel, ammo, etc. by the end of each day. Every time my BF would choose to go with his guy friend for things. I didn't mind the first couple of times, but I did kinda want a day where the two of us hung out, since, again, this was a LD relationship, never happened. The one time I forced the issue and said I was coming along to hunt or something, they just ignored me and did their usual thing. Joke's on me, though. Turns out BF was deep in the closet and hanging out with his guy friend in game was him living out his fantasy of having a boyfriend. Get involved with a cheater. Move to a different school. My girlfriend always went to a different school too. She disrespected the food my mom made specially for her. Smoking. My folks both smoked and died from lung cancer. Saw it coming as a kid. Complete turn off and buzzkill. This is a serious response. He threatened to kill me and himself if I broke up with him. We were alone in the house and he was having some sort of episode where he spaced out, became robotic, and dissociated. This made him act very slow and lethargic. He had mental issues. I grabbed my stuff and ran. Never saw him again, but I know he was hospitalized. I'm married now and he hasn't contacted me since. I actually hope he's doing better. She referred to Mexicans as wetbacks. I look white. What she didn't know is that I'm part Mexican. Racism of any kind towards anyone is an instant turn off. Turns out he never bothered to develop a personality because his looks and sporting prowess carried him through every interaction in his life. I didn't care about sports, so when I finally ended up having a one-on-one chat with him, the guy was a complete void. Couldn't talk about anything. Hadn't even developed the ability to ask questions because he was all too happy to just be praised and talked about all the time. It was so bizarre. He didn't really know what he liked, had no real opinion on anything outside of sports, didn't have any hobbies and was generally just dull as dishwater. So he was a NPC. We were on a date at Jamie's Italian and he ordered for me. He got me a salad. I crushed on a girl for a couple of years and didn't ask her out because life was busy for me, but eventually I was able to ask her out. I took her to the movies to see the most recent Star Wars movie. Before the movie started, she was slamming beers down, which I have no issue with drinking, but she was near sloppy drunk. During the movie, she would talk throughout the entire movie and constantly look at her phone. Funny enough, she would make some rude comments towards other people for talking and I would cringe at the irony. Later that night, we drove to a gas station so she could get cigarettes and she was being completely rude to the cashier because he couldn't understand what she was asking for in her belligerent state. She tried to convince me to stay the night with her, but any attraction I had for her was completely gone. Had a crush on this girl who was dating someone at the time. I was hanging out with her and she kept checking her phone. Later she announced she was upset because her so hadn't texted her first that day, so they hadn't texted at all. She was building resentment over literally nothing. Useful insight into what a relationship with her might have looked like. Told me how her cat was sick so she snapped its neck to put it out of its misery. Hey, thanks for subscribing and liking. It really means a lot to me. While you are here, feel free to hop on over to the last video. See you there. Ronnie.